Sherri Colvin for the Tiny Tailor Workshop. In this tutorial, a simple sleeve. Start by tracing your sleeve pattern onto a piece of tissue paper. Now this helps to keep your pattern sheet intact later on. Get a piece of fabric that's 4 inches by 6 inches at least, fold it over like this, and place your tissue paper pattern onto it. Pin it, making sure to align it with the grain of the fabric. Okay, so we've got that pinned up, and now what we have to do is just cut out the fabric. Remember to cut the notches that you see on your pattern because they help greatly when you are trying to work a curve. So let's do that now. And where you see a sharp curve like this, you'll probably want to make a few release cuts. That will help greatly too. All right, I also like to work in mirror images because when you have a left and right side, you don't get them mixed up and glue the wrong side of the fabric. Next, take your sleeve and put a bead of glue down one long side like this and smooth it with your needle tool. Pick up the sleeve and fold about 1/8 of an inch all the way along that glued bead. You can smooth that out with your needle tool by rolling it like this. Take another bead of glue and put it down the long side of that sleeve again. Once you do that, take your needle tool and smooth it again. After you've done that, grab a paintbrush handle or something about 1/4 of an inch in diameter and wrap the fabric around it. We're going to use this just to help us press that glue into the other side of the sleeve, forming a tube. Just go on up and up the sleeve, pulling this part apart as you work to make it a little bit wider. Press it down, and when you're done, just pull it off of the paint stick. Moving on, we're ready to make the sleeve cuff. Start with a piece of fabric about 1/2 inch by 1.5 inches. Take your glue and put a bead down one of the long edges. Needle tool and smooth. And you know the drill. Turn it over about 1/8 of an inch and press. Oops, better tack that down. Okay, now do the same thing to the other long side. Glue, needle tool, and turn it over about 1/8 of an inch. You can roll it to flatten it, turn it over wrong side, and put a little bit of glue on the short side. Needle tool to smooth, and turn over about 1/8 of an inch. Press down. Now take your scissors and miter the corners, like that. Needle tool again and flatten that out. Put the cuff aside, we'll use it later. Now it's time to fit the sleeve onto the doll. Check to make sure that it fits well, and then we'll glue it onto the doll's shoulder. So I am just going to make sure that all the notches are out and I can see them, and I'll turn it around and check for fit at the wrist and at the shoulder. And I think it could probably use a little bit of trimming at the wrist. To do this, I'm going to fold that arm down and just make a crease with my fingernail where I think it should be trimmed. I'm going to pull it off the doll, take my scissors, and cut that off. Put it back onto the doll, and we're ready to glue at the shoulders. All right, get your glue bottle ready, and starting at the top of the shoulder, folding the arms down, you want to put a dot of glue right there at the top notch and just press that notch down and work the other ones in by simply putting dots of glue and pressing and dots of glue and pressing, and work all the way around the doll like this. Now you might come to a point where you think it needs to be trimmed. Just do that and continue on until you work your way back around to the top of the shoulder. You can also trim it at the back of the sleeve if you find out that you have some excess that you don't want or that you don't need. When you're done gluing the sleeve onto the doll's shoulder, Set the doll aside and let all that dry before you move on to putting the cuff onto the sleeve. Once all that is dry, we'll need to tighten up the bottom of the sleeve before the cuff goes on. So take your glue bottle and squirt some glue inside the sleeve like I'm doing here. And then we'll take our fingers and just pinch and pleat around the bottom of the wrist until it's nice and snug. Okay, we're ready to put on the cuff. So start with the finished end that we did earlier, the short end. And we're going to put a bead of glue on both of the long sides of the cuff. And then we're going to smooth it down with our needle tool just like we've done before. Starting at the wrist on the pinky side, take the finished end and just wrap that around the sleeve bottom. You'll see that that covers up the raw edge very nicely. Come around, note where you need to trim it at the pinky side of the wrist, cut it, and then tuck it in like this. So take your glue bottle, put your final bead of glue on that cuff, and smooth it with the needle tool if you need to, and if you want to, you can put a little bit on the other side of the cuff and press down, making sure that they meet nicely. So that's it, a very simple sleeve. I'm Sherri Colvin. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like down below and subscribe. If you're interested in any of the patterns you saw in this video or any of our videos, go to www.minidollkit.com, click on the shop button, and go to the outfit patterns category. We have downloadables as well, and if you're interested in this particular pattern for the man's sleeve, just click here.